male athletes in the latter part of the race, when they are working on their own or with only perhaps one person with them, when you compare that with the athletes up in front, and you could make a strong case, Stuart, I suppose, for a situation where there are not any records under threat, then actually saying, no, pacemakers, you have to drop out at halfway and leave the women to race, because there's a distinct feeling of unfairness about an athlete out in the front in a women's race getting help from pacemakers, but athletes who are 30 seconds or a minute further back having to do the work on their own. And believe me, having a pacemaker is a huge assistance. Psychologically, it takes away a substantial part of the burden, and physiologically too, it really can be a help if you tuck into somebody's slipstream.
James Kwambai, in the 2007 Boston Marathon, was the final challenger to the eventual winner, Robert Chariot. He's doing it again here, made a little bit of an error after 25 miles and lost it by 20 seconds, but he's been in this territory before. It's the time that is of interest here, because he's way inside his personal best set in 2006 in Brescia at 2 hours 10 minutes 20 seconds. Well, the schedule is around about 2:05 now, just outside world record pace, and it's now down to the racing. Gebrselassie in the yellow vest, Haile Gebrselassie. James Kwambai of Kenya. So Kenya versus Ethiopia, as is often the case in the major race.
Well, place your bets. They've got less than half an hour of racing to do. They're past the three-quarter distance. They've just gone through, 33 kilometres there. And Kwambai to the left, looking surprisingly sprightly, almost bouncing that stride of his. Gebrselassie, eyes fixed on the road, just a couple of metres ahead of him as ever. Looks to be under a little bit of pressure. Certainly he's working here, Gebrselassie. Kwambai's features giving absolutely nothing away, Stuart. He's not sweating up either, is Kwambai.
No, he looks very good, isn't he? Just to say that he trains in Eldoret and Italy. He's coached by Dr. Gabriele Rosa and Claudio Baradelli. So he's Italian-based. Now, is this an effort of Gebrselassie to get away? Well, if it is, it's not working yet.
Well, isn't it interesting? Gabriele Rosa, Dr. Gabriele Rosa, based in Italy, coached one Paul Tergat to the world record on these streets 5 years ago. And here is Mikitenko in the lead for the first time and looking strong. But the tempo never changes from Mikitenko. It's just that pitter-patter little style of hers, so we might get a chance to see the contrasting style of the two. I wonder whether or not Mikitenko might put in a little acceleration here to try and shake off Tough Up, although the Ethiopian staying with her there, and I think there's distinct acceleration, increase in tempo at the front end of that women's race. 1 and 2 locked together in the women's race, 1 and 2 locked together in this men's race. What a finale we're heading for.
Well, Kwambai looks very comfortable. Gebrselassie, we know, has got a sprint finish. What sort of finish has Kwambai got? But you're quite right, there's nothing given away on the face of the Kenyan, but Gebrselassie has got that lead, and if anything, the point I make again, Kwambai was the one I thought would drop off the back. He was off the back of the leading group before halfway, but this, you can just sense the pedal going down. Mikitenko now, she is the leader. In second place is Tafa. Mikitenko, of course, former Kazakhstan athlete. And when you look at her performances, she began as a 1500-meter runner. So Mikitenko, despite that short pitter-pattery stride, she is a 1500-meter runner. She's been right through the distances and has only just come to the marathon last season. And my goodness me, this even-paced running, how important it is to know what your body can do and how your opponents are running, because she wasn't worried. There was no worry from her in the early part of this. She was so far behind, and now all of a sudden, at the critical stage of the race, she's come up to take the lead, and the onus is now on her, surrounded by pacemakers. No pacemakers here though, Tim.
No, but you know what? There's a distinct mirroring of the situation we're seeing unfolding here with that of 5 years ago when Paul Tergat set the world record. He won here on the streets of Berlin in 2003 by 1 second from Sami Correa. Correa is still the third fastest man in history behind Gebrselassie and Tergat. And it may well be that the battle we're seeing here between these two is what will produce the world record. Gebrselassie is not racing against the clock here. Last year he was on his own and had been for some 10 or 15 minutes by this stage, and he drove on to the finish in that fabulous new world record. Here he has a race on his hands, and he's got to decide what to do, Stuart. Does he hang back and make it a tactical affair and lose the chance of the world record and perhaps get out sprinted by a man many years younger, or does he press on using all that strength and experience and try to break the younger man? And I think he's chosen the latter option. He's about 1.5 meters in front of the man in second place there, Kwambai. And Gebrselassie has chosen to push on and put the question to Kwambai to say, can you go with this? Have you got the strength? Have you got the guts? And it is down to guts now.
It's a gradual increase in speed, just slightly putting the pedal down. Kwambai responding at the moment. Very difficult to know from body language how he feels, but he's obviously confident. And it'll be very interesting, as you say, whether he can actually hang on, because Gebrselassie has certainly pushed up the pace just a little bit now. He'll have looked at the clock, he'll know exactly where he is, and because he's been on this course, he's won it for the last 2 years, and he'll look at that clock and he'll say, okay, I've decided now, is it going to be a record, is it going to be a race, is it going to be a first, or is it going to be a record? He's got all that summed up. But there's nothing in it, is there? All of a sudden, Kwambai comes alongside.
I was going to say, Kwambai's returning it with interest, gets his nose in front. Now, this is a man who's never broken 2:10. He's running here at a tempo something like 6 minutes quicker than ever before. That's a mile quicker than he's ever run before, over 26 miles. You extrapolate that, Stuart, to, say, a 100-metre race. It's like setting a personal best by 4 metres. I mean, it's virtually